Once again, Namaste class. Today I'll be talking beyond the value education class. Every day we are having value education class, but today sir informed me to take this class because I had a talk with sir yesterday, last night, and he wanted me to talk about this thing. But before I go to the main important thing, as I told you about the next 10 days, which are very important days, these past few days I've been talking about the different forms of Shakti, right? The different forms of Devi, be it the Dashamahavidyas and Navadurgas. I've discussed both in detail since past 3 to 4 classes, apart from the value education. So today I'll go a little beyond that while rediscussing all these things which I've been discussing since past few days. First of all, last to last class, remember I was talking about how each day has its own importance. Similarly, there are certain times in the year, for a few days, some energies get a boost, be it due to some planetary positions or the exact relative position of our own planet. What that basically means is, due to the position of the sun, the moon, and everything, there is a certain energy which is very conducive for certain practices. Today is the 5th of July, which is Amavasya. Today is no moon day. From tomorrow we are starting Shukla Paksha. Remember I was telling you, in our system we follow the lunar calendar. The January, February, March, this calendar which we follow, which begins at January, this is called the Gregorian calendar, which is the Western calendar. What we follow, what we call the Panchang, is our own calendar, which is a lunar calendar. The solar calendar, Gregorian calendar, works on the basis of the position of the sun and hence is a solar calendar. Whereas ours cycle of time, our calculation and measurement of time is based on the lunar cycle. I was telling you, from no moon day to full moon day, that is from Amavasya to Purnima, when the moon is growing, that is called the Shukla Paksha. And from Purnima till Amavasya, which is the moon is waxing out or waning out, we call that the Krishna Paksha. Shukla means bright. So when the moon is increasing in its girth, when the moon is growing, that is the bright phase, Shukla Paksha. And when the moon is waning down, the light is decreasing, that is the dark phase, Krishna Paksha. This is why Krishna is given such a name. He was dark in complexion. Remember that day I was talking to you about how the energy of Kali matches with the energy of Krishna. In fact, in West Bengal, there are certain sects of worshippers who worship Krishna Kali. What that means is there is no difference between Krishna and Kali. When Kali takes a male form and comes down to earth, she becomes Krishna. And in this analogy, it is taken that Radha is none but Shiva. This is a Leela played by Shiva and Shakti. But before going to that, as I was talking about, the calendar works like this, right? Similarly, there are two ways of calculating a month, Purnimanta and Amanta. This is the basic crux of Jyotisha. What Purnimanta means, the month ends on the day of Purnima. And what Amant or Amavasyant means is, the last day of the month is Amavasya. Is that fine? So from tomorrow onwards starts Shukla Paksha of the month of Ashad. Just like we have January, February, March, April, May, June, July, we have different months of the year. From tomorrow is the Shukla Paksha of Ashad Mas. Ashad is one of the different months. For example, we have, after this will come Shravan or Savan Mas, which is most conducive for Shiva worship, which is the monsoon season. The spring season is Chaitra. The month when we celebrate Diwali, that is Kartika Masa. These are the different months. Before Chaitra comes Falguna Masa. These are the different names of the months given. Alright. So from tomorrow begins the Shukla Paksha of Ashad Mas. Why is that very important is, see, when we talk about Durga Puja or Navratri, in fact there are 4 Navratris in a year. 2 of them are Prakat. What that means is common, known by all. The first is the Chaitra Navratri, which is the 9th day of this Navratri is celebrated as Ramanavami. Okay, that one. And the other Navratri is the one celebrated in the October-November season, September, October, November, that time, which is the most common Navratri. Okay, these are the 2 Prakat Navratris where we worship the calmer form of goddess, the Navadurgas, the 9 different forms of Durga. I'll come to that, but before that, these are the 2 Prakat Navratri. And apart from these 2 come 2 Gupta Navratri or the Tantric Navratri. In these 2 Navratris, we worship the more Ugra, aggressive forms of the deity, of the goddess, the Dasha Mahavidyas. Just a second. So as I was saying, 2 times we have Prakat Navratri, which is known by all, where we worship the Navadurgas. And then the other 2 Navratris are Gupta Navratri. Tomorrow is the first day of Ashad Navratri, which is a Gupta Navratri. People are free to worship Navadurgas this time also, but people who follow Tantra Sadhana, who have been worshipping the aggressive forms of deity, the Dasha Mahavidyas or the 10 avatars of Kali, they will be worshipping the Dasha Mahavidyas for the next 10 days, from 6th of July up till the 15th of July. As I was telling you, Amavasya is one of the most conducive days for Kali worship, right? Today we worship Kali and Mahakali, that is Mahakali. And tomorrow onwards, the 10 different avatars which Devi Mahakali took, right from the first Mahavidya up till the 10th. I'll recap them for the benefit of all of you. For that, I'll even share my screen. I've already discussed this much in details, but it's better if I reiterate, right? And from now on, you all will have to speak up because I won't be able to see the screen whether you are reacting or not. First, I'll discuss the Navadurgas. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Actually, I could not find a proper picture with a good resolution. As you can see here, 368 by 280. We have very bad resolution pictures here. Anyway, the Navadurgas are the 9 different forms of Devi Durga. Why are they important is because these Navadurgas represent the cycle of a woman's life. Can you see my pointer, Devi Shaila Putri?
Yes.
See, when a girl is born, what is she first of all? She is a daughter, right? Devi Parvati was born to King Himavan or the king of the Himalayas. Shaila means a mountain. So Shaila Putri, she is the daughter of the mountains. She is the daughter of the Himalayas. So the first avatar is of Shaila Putri. The first role a woman plays is that of a daughter, right? Understood?
Yes.
After she is a daughter, can you see Brahmacharini? She is dressed in white clothes. She is carrying a japamala and a kamandal. Kamandal is that pot of water. White color dress and there are no weapons. Can you see this form?
Yes.
This is the second form. After being a daughter, she becomes a student. She has to gain knowledge, right? This is the form of Brahmacharini. After being a daughter, now she is a student. She is gaining experience from life. She is gaining knowledge from life. She is gaining whatever knowledge is required to live in this world, to survive in this world. She is brahmacharini. Just like for males we call it brahmachari, we call it brahmacharini for a female, right? Okay.
Yes. Okay.
And then the third form is Chandraghanta. This photo is not very accurate and not very clear also. She is called Chandraghanta because on top of her head right here, she adorns the moon as a jewelry. This is the form of the goddess where she is a spinster, a bachelorette. She is ready for marriage. This is the form that gets married to Shiva. After being a daughter and after being a student, after gaining all the knowledge required, now she is the most eligible woman. She has to get married. This is the form of goddess where she gets married to Shiva. This is the form where she becomes the wife. Okay. And after that, the next form is Kushmanda. She is called Kushmanda, Anda, because she is pregnant. She is pregnant with the whole universe. Can you see this pot?
Yes.
This pot represents her fertility. She is the mother. She is pregnant right now and soon she will give birth to the whole universe as her own son or own daughter, however you want to look at the universe, right? So this is the form of the mother where she herself is pregnant now. She was born as a daughter, she became a student, she became a wife, and now she is soon to be a mother. And here we move on to the next form, Skanda Mata. Can you see this six-faced boy sitting on the mother's lap? This is Skanda or Kartikeya. That's why she is called Skanda Mata. Now she has given birth and she now plays the role of a mother. And she is the mother to Kartikeya or Skanda. Just like Brahmacharini, you can see even this form, she is not carrying any weapons, right? She is in the form of a nurturing mother here. But this is not where everything ends. People say that after a woman becomes a mother, she is lost her empoweredness. Only when she is single, she is free, right? But after Skanda Mata, the next form is of Devi Katyayani. Devi Katyayani is the goddess whom we call Mahishasura Mardini. We see the form of Devi Durga, right? When she is killing the Asura, Mahishasura. She did it in the form of Devi Katyayani. She has already been a mother, and now whatever evil is there, she is ready to fight that. She is ready to conquer that. This is her power. Right? And if you think this is where it ends, this is the most fierce she will get, the next form is of Devi Kalaratri or Devi Kali. Can you see how she is? I like this representation. Not very accurate, but one thing they've got perfectly right is, can you see the open hair?
Yes.
She has already been a mother. She has already faced a lot of challenges. She has already killed an Asura to protect her children. And even now she is very free and very fierce. This is her rawest form. She is in her rawest form even after doing everything. Right? She is Kali. She is ready to face any challenge. You throw any challenge at her. She is that raw form of energy that can fight all of it. And next, if you come here, Mahagauri or Devi Gauri. She is the mother of Ganapati, of Ganesha. If you have to earn an accomplishment, if you have to earn siddhis, you start with her. You please her. She will take you to the siddhis. And from here we come to Devi Siddhi Datri. And you see the name Siddhi Datri. Datri means to give, or the one who has. She has all the siddhis and she gives all the siddhis away. See here, Datri means both, that she has and that she gives it away too. Okay. She is the goddess who has all the siddhis, who has all the accomplishments. and she is the one who can give you all the siddhis. Are you clear till this part?
Yes.
All of you clear with who the Navadurgas are?
Yes.
Yes. So see,
Yes.
so the first form she takes is Shailaputri. She is the daughter. Then she becomes Brahmacharini. She is a student. Chandraghanta. She is ready to become a wife. She is the perfect wife. Kushmanda. She is soon to be a mother. She is going to give birth to you. Then she is Skandamata. She is nurturing her son. She is making sure her son grows up to the warrior, to the general he is. We all know that Kartikeya is the god of war. He is the general of the Devas. What does that mean? That he is the most masculine one. Her son is perfect because she is perfect. And this is not where it ends. After that, she is Katyayani. Whatever be the issue, whoever comes to harm her children, she is ready to protect her children. She is ready to defeat, even kill the Asuras. And even after killing the Asuras, whatever challenges come, she is ready to face it. She is wild, she is of raw energy. She is ready to face any challenge. But even after facing each and every challenge, she is still the nurturing mother. She still handles Ganesha and she makes Ganesha the god of wisdom. Even after being this raw form of energy, a very ferocious form of energy, she holds all the wisdom and she is ready to impart that to Ganesha, to you. And through her blessings, you can accomplish anything in life. She is Shri, she is Lakshmi, she is Siddhidatri. Because of her, you can accomplish anything in life. So these are the 9 stages of a woman's life, right? Is everyone clear how each and every form is a different stage in life?
Yes.
Someone raise their hand? Or
No, it's a
oh,
message.
message. Everyone is fine with Navadurgas? Then we come to my forte in a certain sense. Dasha Mahavidyas. Again the same issue. Good resolution pictures are not there. I found out quite a few pictures, but not all of them are very accurate. This was the picture I used last time, but it had many issues. So I thought I'll be using this image. Dasha Mahavidyas, just like those 9 forms, Navadurgas are the 9 stages of a woman's life. Dasha Mahavidya, Vidya means knowledge, right? These are the 10 greatest knowledge or the 10 greatest aspects of reality. Remember, I was giving you the story that the first and foremost form of Devi is Tripura Sundari or Ma Shodashi. She is the form of goddess which first came out. But when she came out, there was nothing there. She had to begin the process of creation. She came out in her Nirguna Swarup. She came out formless. There was no form given to her. Tripura Sundari. Tripura. See, where we live, where the mankind lives, is one loka. Above us there are 7 realms. That is one loka, where the higher beings reside. And below us there are 7 lokas, where the lower beings reside. This is one realm. She is the most beautiful one in all the 3 realms. She is called Tripura Sundari. Similarly, she is called Shodashi of 16 years of age. And at the same time, she is Ma Lalita. Okay. She came out in a formless Swarup. She came out in a Nirguna Swarup. And she had to begin the process of creation. To begin this process of creation, you needed a measurement of creation, right? What will be the limits of creation? what is the limitation of us? What is our limits? Our limits are time and death, right? So she needed a form of energy to establish control over time and death. So the first Mahavidya came up in her form, which is Kali. Kali is the goddess of time, she is the goddess of death, and most importantly, she is the goddess of change. So first came out Kali. And now that we had the limitation of creation, time and death, because without time and death, you cannot measure creation, you cannot measure life, and in order to define life, you need time and death, right? See, if we are living on what basis? What gives acknowledgement to our existence? It is time, right? See, I'll give you an example. Let's say there is a road. On that road, a car is going round and round again and again. Right now you can see that car, so you know it exists, right? But if I start moving this car so very fast that it goes on the speed of light, can you see that car? No, right? But what is the proof that this car was there? If you pause time for a second, if you take one frame of time, then you can see that this car is present, right? We are dividing existence into these tiny frames, right? Just like for a movie, what a movie basically is, there are photos which are moving in high frames per second, right? Just like that, if we put up our life into small frames, this frame is nothing but time, right? And if you have to give a value to something, you have to make that thing limited, right? If you are hungry and I give you 10,000 kgs of food, you will eat as however much you want and the rest you will throw away, right? Because you have limitless supply, so you don't value anything. But the moment I tell you that you are hungry and I'll only give you a plate full, you will respect that food. Similarly, if we tell you that you are immortal and you just have to live this life, then you will not value life. So the other measurement of life is death. But as we know, after this life ends, we will be reborn. This Atma will continue going, but the body will change, right? So Kali is the goddess of time, death and change. Okay. But now the question comes, time is there, change is there, death is there. But we have to go beyond that to reach the goddess, right? So the form of energy that will take us beyond time, death and change is Tara. Tara comes, as I keep on saying again and again, from the Mula Tarana, to take out. She takes us out from the cycle of time, of birth and death, of change. So she is Tara. She is the source of all energies, mind you. The earth has one source of energy, right? What is that source of energy? Tell me. Come on, tell me, what is this source of energy? Dash is the ultimate source of energy. Class 1, class 2 science. What is told to us?
Sun.
Exactly, the sun. How does the sun gets its energy? It is through Tara. Tara is the source of energy. And we say that after the 4 yugas, Pralay will come, right? The end will come. There are many forms of Pralay, of end. One is Jala Pralay, flooding will happen. Another is Agni Pralay. Similarly, there is Surya Pralay. We hear of solar flares, right? Sometimes we see in the news that solar flares will be coming and network will be disrupted, electricity will be disrupted. This solar flare is nothing but outburst of the energy of Devi Tara. When Surya Pralay will come, She is the one who will ignite the sun's energy to cause solar flares. Okay? But she is the most loving mother. She is Tara. And once the limitation of life was there and how to go beyond that limitation was there, now was the time to begin the process of creation. So Tripura Sundari arose in her form, in her Sarguna Swarupa. She took up a form. And after she took up a form, now everything can begin. So the process of creation started with Bhuvaneshwari. Bhuvaneshwari. Bhuvan, fort. Fort. What is this fort? This universe is a fort. And she is the Ishwari of this fort. She is the mother of this fort. She is the owner of this fort. It is from Bhuvaneshwari that the Trimurti, the three Devas come. Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh arise from her. Okay. And apart from that, I was telling you, right, that we are in our mortal realm. Above us there are 7 planes and below us there are 7 planes. Atala, Pitala, Sutala, Talatala, Rasatala, Patala. These are the below realms where negative beings reside. These are all different Bhuvan. Each Bhuvan is created by Devi Bhuvaneshwari. Okay. And after this physical manifestation of creation had happened, there needed to be an energy of protection, right? And once you begin with life, we start with free will, right? Because of free will, people are ready, people are allowed, people are able to do both good and bad. You need someone to protect this free will, to protect life, and if there is any ill happenings happening, to punish that, and for anything that is good, to reward that. That is the energy of Bhairavi or Tripura Bhairavi. We use the term Tripura twice. Once for Tripura Sundari and another time for Tripura Bhairavi. Bhairavi, she is the ferocious one. She is the ferocious mother. After your death, whatever karmas you have done, she is the one who will punish you for your bad karmas, who will reward you for your good karmas. She is the one who protects free will, and by protecting free will, she protects you. Okay. So this is Ma Tripura Bhairavi, the ferocious mother, the ferocious form of the mother. But another thing, she is one of the very few forms of goddess to hold a japamala in her hand. So if you want to perform any dhyana, the energy of dhyana originates from her. She is the one holding a japamala in her hand. And in another hand, she is holding the sources of knowledge. Be it the Tantra Shastra or be it the Vedas or be it any text. Okay. And after that comes the form of Ma Chinna Masta. Chinna Masta or Chinna Mastika. Chinna means cut off and Masta or means Mastak, head. She is the one who cut off her own head to nourish her own children. Can you see these two attendants, Dakini and Varnini? I have the previous recordings. You can check those recordings for the complete story. I won't go into that. Otherwise, this session will go very long. Okay. I won't discuss much on Ma Chinna Masta. Just know this much, that in order to nourish her children, she can cut off her own head. She is the energy of nourishment. And after nourishment comes the question of discipline. People are getting punished for whatever karmas they have done after their death. But what about when they are living? Who will instill discipline in them? For that arose Devi Dhumavati. This is the angry form of the goddess where she is widowed. She is in her Vidwa Rupa, she is called Vidwa Rupa Dharini. She is in Vidwa Swarup. To instill discipline, she became very harsh. So harsh that she herself ingested her own partner Shiva. She ingested her partner Shiva and she became a widow. And she is there to instill discipline within us. And just like I was saying that it is Ma Tara who will cause solar flares and through solar energy the world will end, Ma Dhumavati is shown to be always hungry, to always be in pain, in order to be cruel enough to punish her children. If her anger arises, she will cause complete drought. There will be no food crops anywhere. Everyone will be in pain. Okay. And next comes Ma Baglamukhi. It is not very clear here, but in one hand she is holding the tongue of a demon, and in another hand she is holding a club to hit that demon with. The story goes like this. There was a cosmic storm which can end the whole universe. In order to stop that from happening, Vishnu himself performed penance, did yoga, and pleased Ma Baglamukhi to come and stop this cosmic storm. She is the form of energy that instills fear. She is the one who can stop anything. Out of the Shatakarmas, the 6 different Kriyas, which are a part of people what now call black magic, which is Abhichara Kriya, she is the energy of Stambhana. See, I'll give you an example. I think all of us would have played the game of statue. She controls that energy. There is a rain happening. I don't want it to rain. If I call Varsha Stambhan, rain will stop. This is her energy. And after her comes Matangi. Just like Ma Tripura Sundari is the tantric form, the tantric swarup of Devi Parvati, Matangi is the tantric swarup of Devi Saraswati. See, when Devi Saraswati arose, with her arose all the forms of knowledge. All the knowledge arose, but with Matangi arose art. She is the one with whom rasa comes. Rasa, essence, juice. She is the one who makes even knowledge enjoyable. Any form of art comes from her. And similarly, after knowledge and art, the final necessity for the universe to be stable, the final form of energy was prosperity. You need to earn in order to live, right? Everyone needs to perform hard work. Everyone needs to earn their living, right? So comes Ma Kamala. She is called Ma Kamala because she sits on a Kamala Pushpa. This Kamala is lotus, right? She sits on a lotus and that's why she is called Ma Kamala. She is the tantric swarup of Ma Lakshmi. Remember I was talking about the Navadurgas. The last Durga was Ma Siddhidatri. She is also Lakshmi Swarupa. She is the one to provide us with all the siddhis, with all the accomplishments, and she is sitting on a lotus. Similarly, the 10th Mahavidya, Ma Kamala, she is sitting on a lotus. She provides us all the siddhis, all the accomplishments. Whatever prosperity we have, it is through Ma Kamala. So these are the 10 Mahavidyas, but the foremost Mahavidya is Ma Tripura Sundari. Another name which is given to her is Ma Kameshwari. She is called Kameshwari. She is the origin of all the desires. People say that desire, that Kama is a very bad thing, but without Kama nothing will happen. You all are sitting here now because you all want knowledge, right? If you had no desire for knowledge, you will not be sitting here. You are going to college, you are going to study because all of you want to earn your living, to earn money. Without that desire, you will not earn money. You are breathing right now because you have a desire to live. See, I'll give you this analogy. Sometimes something happens. Someone loses their job, there is some breakup, they lose their partner, someone close dies, they lose a friendship, people say that they want to die, right? For them I have this exercise. Don't breathe. Close your mouth, close your nose for 2 minutes and see if your body wants to live or wants to die. Your body will say, to hell with whoever was there, to hell with your job, to hell with your heartbreak, to hell with your breakup, I want to live, right? All of you are free to perform this exercise and see whether you all want to live or die, right? Is there any question till now? So, from today, or more precisely from tomorrow morning, these energies will be at their peak. The Navadurgas, see, I have 3 ladies here, Divya, Meghna and Sakshi. All the 3 of you have all the qualities of the Navadurgas and the Dasha Mahavidyas. Everyone does, because we originate from them. But for those people who say that India is a misogynistic society where women are not given any respect, even in our worship, the highest worship is of the mother. See, when the Abrahamic religions came, be it Christianity or Islam, the first thing they did was eradicate all the pagans, right? Pagans were non-believers. The one common thing about these pagans were most of them were worshippers of female form of energy. We have female forms of energy in almost every previous culture. India is the only place where it remains intact. Other cultures, for example, we have this deity Athena. In Greece, there is this place called Athens. Athens is given the name because of Athena. Athena is the goddess of wisdom. She is the goddess of war in their culture. Then just like we have Ma Baglamukhi, who causes Thamban, who causes fear, there is this deity that has been worshipped, Medusa. You all would have heard of this form of goddess. She has snakes instead of hair, and when anyone looks at her face, they become a statue. People say that right now Jesus is given a certain form of importance, right? If not for Jesus, one of the major deities would have gained this worship would have been the goddess Issus. Issus. There was this goddess. She is now not known to anyone. I took interest, I researched, so I have this idea. There was this goddess Issus. And you think of it, it sounds so similar to Jesus, right? There was this goddess Issus. And a similar analogy is made for Mitra. When we do Surya Namaskara, one of the mantras that come is Om Mitraya Nama. Right now Mitra is a Vedic god, but the thing is, if you go to scholars of the Roman and Greek philosophies, very few remain now. People from West claim that Mitra came from West to East, and we will say, no, Mitra is a god that originated here in our culture and became very famous in the West. Just like we had Zeus, Odin and all these figures, just like now we have Shiva worship and West has the worship of Jesus as their son of God, the most famous worship was done for Mitra in modern day Europe and Mediterranean part, Egypt part and Middle East. There was this goddess Issus. What is Saudi Arabia now, that Middle East part, Egypt part, they had Issus as a major goddess. And Europe side they had Mitra. Okay. So these were what they called pagans. The people who worshipped nature, the people who worshipped any form of a female entity. Because the moment you get acclimated to a female form of energy, you cannot hold people together in an organization. See, there are two forms of energy, basically masculine and feminine. The masculine form of energy is organized form of energy. You can have a certain discipline, a certain rules and organization in the masculine form of energy. But if there is a female energy present, a feminine energy present, then feminine energy's characteristic is being spontaneous, being unpredictable. How can you take control of anyone who is unpredictable, right? That's why the first thing they had to do was eradicate any form of female worship, feminine worship. Because if feminine worship will be there, people will have certain forms of spontaneity. People will be spontaneous. So mostly what the Abrahamic religions did was they eradicate feminine forms of worship. Namaste, sir.
Namaste. What is the topic going on? You are presenting something.
Yes, sir. In order to explain Navadurgas and Dashamahavidyas, I are showing the pictures.
Actually, now you see the strength is only 1, 2, 3, 4. Where are the other people?
Nirjara did not join. Rahul said he was busy, and Roshan said he will be joining by 6:10 or something. He hasn't joined yet.
I think if you are going to talk about this topic, I don't know how far people will understand. They won't remember. I'll write it in you. That is the reason why I joined the meeting. I knew that this will happen. Any hardcore topic, the problem is everybody should be there.
Yes, sir.
Another thing is there are so many basics we have to first say. Before talking about Dashamahavidya, suddenly where is it coming from will be the question. No, I am planning to conduct a session today. When can we conduct now? When you people all can come? Because this topic, you have to first of all start from the root.
Yes, sir.
Shakta. What is this Shakta cult? What are the Shanmatas? From there we have to start. That is the basic actually.
Yes, sir.
Now you tell them suddenly Dashamahavidya, they won't understand. But suddenly how it came will be the question. So Nishant and all, what is his problem? Why he is not switching on his camera?
That Nishant himself will tell you, sir, once he rejoins.
Why he is outside?
He said that he'll sit down somewhere and then he'll switch on his camera, but let's see. Till then, may I continue, sir, with what I was saying, or what do you say, sir?
No, what I suggest. See, a lot of things are there, but Navaratri we can keep talking.
Yes, sir.
So this is my point, and okay, whatever you finish, whatever you are teaching, you complete it.
Yes, sir.
But the segment we will have it at 8:15 or 8:30 we can have.
Yes, sir.
Where are you, Sakshi? Are you available you are going in the bus or what? Have you reached? Good attempt.
Yes, sir.
But to be there. That is why specifically I joined the meeting. I know very well they won't know. This is the problem. Everybody should be there. Now, whoever, there are 13 people in the group. All the 13 should be there.
Sir.
Correct, no? Okay, continue this point and close.
Yes, sir.
Explain only about this and close. Namaste. You all can continue.
Namaste, sir. So, as I was talking about Shakti, when the universe was created, the first form of Shakti which came up was in the form of Devi Sati. You would have heard of this name, Devi Sati. The story goes like this. Sati was born to Prajapati Daksha. Prajapati means he was given the responsibility from Brahma to maintain order in this universe. After Brahma had completed the creation process, his Manasputra, his son born from his own mind, his own imagination, Prajapati Daksha was given the responsibility of maintaining order. But due to some reasons, he did not like Shiva, and Devi Sati, who was Daksha's daughter, was destined to marry Shiva. and he was against that. Daksha was against this. But still, Devi Sati, because she was Adi Shakti, she was Shakti herself, she married Shiva. And as the story goes, after this marriage happened, sometime after that, Daksha kept a yaga at his home. And he did not invite Devi Sati there, right? Still, Devi Sati went there thinking that it's my father's yaga, why should he have to invite me? But when Devi Sati goes there, what Prajapati Daksha does is, he humiliates Devi Sati. Okay. And Devi Sati gets very angry and she takes up the form of Shakti. This is the second time when she takes this form. The first form comes a few minutes before this happened. When Devi Sati goes to Lord Shiva telling him that I want to go to my father's yaga. See, Shiva knows everything, right? What will happen if she goes there? So Shiva tries to stop Devi Sati and explain it to her that if she goes there, it will not be of any good. Devi Sati gets very angry and exclaims that I am Devi Shakti myself. I know everything. I know that it will happen and it should happen. So let me go. But even when Shiva, being very attached to his wife, did not allow her to go, Devi Sati became Mahakali. She got extremely angry and from her arose the Dasha Mahavidyas. Okay. I told you, right? Devi Dhumavati is in the form of a widow. How that came to happen now is the story. Dasha Mahavidyas came and they circled Shiva from all the 10 directions. The 8 directions, north, east, west, south, northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, from below and from upside. All these 10 directions, they encircled Shiva, and even then when Shiva was not listening to them, Devi Dhumavati, she arose to maintain discipline, right? She became very angry and she ingested Shiva. And the moment she ingested Shiva, she took up the form of a widow. Okay. She is called Devi Dhumavati because she is dusky. Wherever she is there will be fog, there will be smoke. She is of a smoky kind of nature. Okay. So after this happens, Shiva realizes his mistake and he allows Sati to go. Sati calms down and goes to Daksha's yaga. And when everything happens, when she is humiliated, when her husband is humiliated, she gives up this body and she takes up fire. That's how the story goes, right? She jumps into the yaga. And after that, Shiva becomes furious that this happened. Shiva tears open one lock of his hair, one jata, throws it on a stone, on a boulder. And from that arises Veerabhadra. Veerabhadra goes, who is the angriest manifestation of Shiva, and cuts down the yaga completely, destroys everything, and cuts down Daksha's head off. Then when Brahma and every god comes down, praying to Shiva that without Daksha, maintaining order in this universe will be difficult, Shiva forgives everyone and puts the head of a goat on Daksha's head, because he had cut off Daksha's head and that head was gone. So the head of a goat was kept on Daksha's head. After that, Shiva took up Sati's burnt body and started roaming all around the universe in depression. Obviously, you love your wife so much and now that wife is gone, you will be in depression, right? Vishnu is unable to see Shiva in this form, decides to use his Sudarshana Chakra to cut down Sati into many pieces, and each piece which fell on earth is where a Shakti Pitha is there. Okay. So this is how Shakti Pithas were formed. Out of these Shakti Pithas, the foremost, the most important is where the womb of Devi Sati landed. That is the place which we call Devi Kamakhya Bhumi now. I say that I come from Kamakhya Bhumi, and Devi Kamakhya is very important. It is because this is where the womb landed, right? And what does a lady's womb represent? Any answer?
Fertility.
Fertility and creation, right? The Devi's womb is exactly where all of creation has to begin, right? If anywhere at all. If some place that womb has fallen, won't that be the most important place? So Kamakhya Bhumi is called the capital, just like New Delhi is the capital of India. Kamakhya Bhumi is the capital or the origin of all energy. This is where Tantra originated, where Tantrics go. See, I am talking about Gupta Navratri, right? Which will start tomorrow. Just 10 days back, 22nd of June, it started what is known as Ambubasi Mela. Every woman goes through her periods, right? That is common knowledge. है ना? Every year for 3 days, Devi Kamakhya, since the womb is there, she goes through her menstruation period. Devi Kamakhya Bhumi, see, temples have idols, right? We call it Vigraha. At Devi Kamakhya, there is no Vigraha. There is one naturally formed womb, and water flows there. No one knows the origin of this water, and people say that this water is the form of Devi Kamakhya. For these 3 days, this whole stream of water which runs inside this temple, it goes red, blood red. For these 3 days, the temple is closed, and white cloth is kept everywhere in this temple. The temple is filled with white cloth, and after 3 days, when the temple gates are open, it is seen that this white cloth has turned red, and this red cloth is given as prasadam. For these 3 days, you know what happens? This is called Gupta Kumbh Mela or Tantric Kumbh Mela, Ambubasi Mela. Tantrics from all over the world come. Let's say a siddhi that would have taken you 30 years of penance, people come and do it and accomplish it within 3 days. It is said that even sadhanas, even to attain siddhi that will take hundreds of years, people can come here and do it within 3 days. That is the power Devi Kamakhya has. I'll show you her picture now. Can you see this picture? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Can you see there are 6 faces? That day I was talking about Sadashiva, right? 5 faces of Shiva means those 5 ways to worship him, 5 ways of approaching him, right? So she has 6 faces. You can approach her any way you feel like. You can approach her as Kameshwari. You can approach her as Kali. You can approach her as Tripura Sundari. You can approach her any way you like, right? Can you see this tiger?
Yes.
This tiger is none but Vishnu. Okay. On this tiger, which is Vishnu, there is this Shweta Preta, white ghost. This Shweta Preta is none but Shiva. Okay. From Shiva's navel arises this lotus, right? This lotus is Brahma, and on this resides Devi Ma Kamakhya. Understood?
Yes.
When you see each and every god and goddess, they have their own dhyana mantra, right? Dhyana mantra, the mantra which is used to invoke that deity, which tells you how that deity is, description of that deity is given. That is called the dhyana mantra. Okay. So for Devi, I'll show you. कामाख्या वरदे देवी नीलपर्वत वासिनी त्वं देवी जगन्माता योनि मुद्रे नमोस्तुते. Can you see this? I've written it here. This is my second book's this thing. Copy. She is called Neela Parvata Vasini. The mountain on which Kamakhya Shakti Peetha is established is called Neela Parvat, the blue mountain. It is said that this Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, these three, this is the Neela Parvat on which Ma Kamakhya is sitting. So Neela Parvat is nothing but Vishnu, Shiva and Brahma. See there, if you go there any time, if you are lucky enough to go to Kamakhya Bhumi, there is the main temple of Devi Kamakhya, where there is, apart from Devi Kamakhya, that naturally flowing water, there is a Vigraha of Kameshwar and Kameshwari, where the goddess is worshipped as Kameshwari. Apart from this, there are 10 temples adjoining, Dasha Mahavidya temples. For every Mahavidya, there is a temple on Neela Parvata. Okay. So, Kamakhya Varade Devi. Can you see this? Varade Devi. Varade Devi. She gives you all the blessings. Okay. O Kamakhya Devi, who blesses me with everything, the one who stays on Neela Parvat, on the blue mountains. You are the mother of the whole universe. Yoni Mudre, in the form of a Yoni. Mudra means form. Yoni Mudra. Yoni means womb. Okay. She is in the form of a womb. Right? Just like we have Devi Kamakhya with 6 faces, I was talking about Sadashiva, right? This is a very good painting of Sadashiva. Can you see this painting?
Yes.
Can you see this fire? What is this fire? Any answer? Any answer? What is this fire? I'll show you
Does it symbolizes destruction?
See, this fire is that fire in which the whole universe will burn down during Agni Pralay. He is holding Agni Pralay in his hands. Okay. And in another hand, he has a Damaru. You all know what is a Damaru, right? People say that Sanskrit is well made, right? Samyak kritam iti Sanskritam. Well made language is Sanskrit. You know how the words arise. Shiva started dancing, and when he started dancing, he started playing the Damru. Each and every beat of the Damru gave form to a new letter. There are people who play the tabla, right? Have you heard of Ustad Zakir Hussain? The world's most famous tabla player. He has a video, you can Google it later, where he shows how the Damru is being played through tabla. And in that depiction, and there is one more depiction of another tabla player. He is singing the mantras by playing the tabla. He is not speaking anything, but the mantras are being spoken by the tabla itself. Can you imagine the Damru being played? Ta tha da dha ta dha da da ta na pa ma. We say right, sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa, and we play the tabla like that. You saw Sadashiva, right? I'll show you something which is even more important. Nataraja. You all must have seen this. Can you all see this image? Hello?
Yes, Anna.
Even scientists have agreed now that, and it's common knowledge now, the universe is in the form of sinusoidal waves, right? Sinusoidal means it's in a certain frequency of sine curve. This frequency, if you draw a graph, it will look like the sine curve, right? Is in the form of vibrations, frequency in the form of sound. They have found, even if you go to in Switzerland, there is the main center where this happens. I can't remember the name of this institute now. I am very sorry. It was
Stern.
right. Huh?
Stern.
Yes, Stern. Sorry. If you go there, even now they have kept Nataraja Murti there. Scientists have agreed now that the process of creation and destruction of the universe is the perpetual state of dance of Shiva in the form of Nataraja. Okay. His two hands are like this. See, the one hand, the Damru. Damru is the sound of creation. I told you, right? Everything is created from the sound of the Damru. Even Sanskrit comes from this Damru. The creation is in sound waves, right? This sound waves is of this Damru. My everyday dialogue is that Damru baj raha hai, main naach raha hu. Every time I'm saying that. This is one explanation to that. So you see, Damru, that causes the creation. Agni, that causes the destruction. And he's dancing. As long as he's dancing, the process of creation and destruction is happening simultaneously, continuously throughout. Right? Can you see he's standing on top of a demon? Can you see this?
Yes.
This demon is called Apasmara. Apasmar is considered as the disease, not exactly disease, but the entity which causes a person to lose his intellect completely. He is a manifestation of the Shatripuhu, the 6 enemies of man. Greed, lust, what we call Moh, Mad, Maya, Matsarya. All these 6 enemies of man. He is a representation of that destroys the intellect of person. So he is standing on top of the entity that causes the intellect to be decreased. So he is causing the origin of intellect, right? Because of him, intellect has a place in this universe. Because the moment Nataraja steps out, this demon will cause the end of intellect, right? Apasmara. Apas is one of, see, there are 5 elements. One of the elements is apas. This element is the flow of intellect. Apas is also what we call water. We say Apsara, right? We call them Apsara because their body flows like a water when they dance. That's why they are called Apsara. Apas. Apas is flowing. Apas is water. Intellect is always added to a flowing water. Rivers of flowing water are connected with the intellect. Okay. So he is the one who is causing that flow of intellect to stop. So from Nataraja, intellect is originating. He is causing the creation and destruction of the universe, right? Any other doubt from his form, this form? Any doubts? You'll have to speak up. No doubts.
What does the back side the circle represent? Is it solar or?
That is the ring of fire. A ring of fire. That is showing the emanating energy in the form of radiation. Whatever energy is there, it is radiating through him. His dance is causing energy to radiate out of him. This energy which is radiating out is always depicted as this ring of fire. See, in all this, every image, there is this ring of fire, right? You will not find anywhere where this ring of fire is missing. If it is an actual, depiction, not some random depiction, but according to what the Shastram says. See, each and every one will have. See, Nataraja, it is one of the simplest forms where Shiva is depicted, because the rules are set. One hand will be the Damru, this side the upper hand will have the tongue of fire. We call it a tongue of fire. Okay. One hand, there was one hand like this, right? This is called Abhaya Mudra. Abhaya Mudra, he is giving fearlessness. Everyone who surrenders to him is made fearless. This means you surrender to me and you become fearless. And just the opposite, this is Varada Mudra. You will see paintings of Devi Lakshmi like this, coins will be following down. This is called Varada Mudra. That means I am giving you something. What will he give? He is giving you everything, whatever you wish for. So Abhaya Mudra and Varada Mudra. He is causing you to be fearless. He is Nataraja. He is dancing. He is giving you all the art forms in Varada Mudra. Creation is happening and this fire is burning. At the same time, destruction is happening. And at the same time, in order to sustain everything, energy is radiating out from him. So what all I have covered? Navadurga, Dashamavidyas, Devi Kamakhya, Sadashiva and Nataraja. Okay, Sadashiva, what are the 5 faces? Which is the first face? You have to refer to your notes for everything, it seems.
Sadyojat.
Yes. What is Sadyojat, the energy of?
Creation.
Which side?
First face.
West side. If you want, see, if you keep, not Shivalinga, Shivalinga has its own rules and regulations, everything. If you keep a statue of a Shiva's face, these days Adi Yogi statue is very famous, people keep that. So if you keep that statue facing west, that means you are welcoming the energy of Sadyojat, of creation. Okay. Sadyojat is the first phase. Which is the second phase?
Vamadev.
Energy of
Sustenance.
Sadyojat is Brahma. Vamadeva is Vishnu. Third phase? The phase
Aghora.
Aghora.
Destruction.
Facing south.
Why is south direction considered as destruction or death?
See, if you have to depict north and south in a paper, you do that by showing north up and south down, right?
Yes.
That is one analogy. And the second analogy which comes is, if you go up to the mountains, you can explore them, right? You go north, towards the north we have the Himalayas that are protecting us. You can go there, and there you can sit down for meditation. So people say devas are there. You go down south, there are mighty rivers causing destruction, mighty seas causing destruction, and you don't know what is there. It is unknown, right? Even today we know much more about the space compared to our own oceans, right? What is down south, no one knows that. So that is considered another see, if you go to what is present day Amazon forests, Brazil side, Mexico, Brazil, all those side, you will find within the jungles there is one place where a statue of Lord Hanuman is kept. There is one, and I was telling you, right, during the session on Panchamukhi Hanuman that day, that Hanuman built a tunnel from earth down to Patala Loka. There are some people who believe this tunnel took him to what is the Amazon forest today, the present day Mexico side. So this was the tunnel which he took, going south side. So people say that these people who are living in the south are the demons. So Patala Loka is compared to that direction. Have you all heard of the Bermuda Triangle? Ships go there and get lost completely. Bermuda Triangle has allegedly a connection with Ramayana too. In one story it goes that there is one unstable weapon. See, in lots of cases we have the story of an unstable weapon, right? One story comes when the river was not when the ocean was not giving way to Lord Rama to cross over to Lanka. Lord Rama took up his bow and arrows and he wanted to completely evaporate the whole ocean, right, to make way for his army. There are such cases of unstable weapons. One such unstable weapon was handed over to Hanuman, and Hanuman knew very well, if anyone gets hold of this will cause destruction. He went somewhere very far away and dropped it in the ocean. People say that is where Bermuda Triangle is. But that is just an analogy, that is just a story. Apart from that, I don't know. Because I have personally never been to Bermuda Triangle, and I don't plan on going also. Okay, any other doubts from today's session? Divya? Understood why south is connected with... Okay, third phase is Aghora. Fourth phase?
Shiva.
Huh?
Shiva. Tatpurusha.
Tatpurusha, not Shiva. Tatpurusha is whom we consider as Shiva Shankara. Shankar, the one sitting with Parvati, with Kartikeya and Ganesha, family man. And the final phase?
Ishan.
Ishan is Sadashiva. Okay.
That is the northeast direction.
Yes.
Okay.
So you're completing the full circle, right? West, south, northeast. This whole arc is completed, right?
Yes.
Over here they have shown Aghora as this side, red color faced, facing south side. Okay. Okay then, no more doubts then, Divya, Meghna. Nishant left and Sakshi left. Anyway. So this session was basically to explain to you the importance of tomorrow onwards. We have Gupta Navratri. And just 10 days back, 22nd June it started. What did it start? Ambuvasi Mela, which is called the Tantrika Kumbh Mela. Happens every year. Okay. Meghna, give me a explanation of today's class. A brief summary of today's class, whatever I discussed.
Okay, today you briefed about Navadurgas, and then we went to Dasha Mahavidyas, which you had already taken previously. You just give a summary of it. Then we saw Sadashiva. No, you explained about Devi Kamakhya and the temple and how it is explaining the fertility and creation and how the menstruation happens and the water turns red. You explained that part. Then we saw you explained about Nataraja.
Okay, so from today's thing, which portion did you find the most interesting? Whatever resonated with you the most?
Devi Kamakhya.
Okay. Divya?
Yes, Anna. So first of all, you started explaining with the calendar like the Amavasya Purnima, the Shukla Paksha, and the Ashad Masa also, and the lunar calendar which we for the phases of the moon. Okay, and then the Dasha Mahavidyas, the summary, and then about Devi Kamakhya temple. When I too feel more connected with that topic, and then it was Navadurga, then Sadashiva, then Nataraja. You explain their forms. What does it mean? What does each element of that picture mean?
Okay. So you all have gotten at least a basic understanding of how everything is. What connects all these things are the tantric aspect also has the aspect of the 7 chakras, right? I've already given a very good explanation on the 7 chakras last class. The first class itself I gave a class on chakras and I've discussed much. Do you want me to give a recap on that now or next class some other time? You both tell me.
Next class.
Huh?
Next class.
Next class.
Next class.
Okay. Okay then. That's it for today then. Namaste.
Namaste, Anna. Namaste.